Hi everyone. Thanks for coming again to the Starburst Foundation's Subquantum Kinetics number 7 on the papers that I wrote on Paul Laviolette. And today we have Chris. Everyone here is actually from the Starburst Foundation. We have Brendan, we have Chris, we have Amber. We have a special guest today, Carmen, who we'll maybe talk about later. And I'm really excited because this is the second to last one of these. Last time we talked about Wardenclyffe a lot, explained how a soliton and phase conjugate technology basically was used there. So it was Nikola Tesla himself that started all of this stuff. So yeah, let's try and carry on with this, Chris. You can go ahead when you're ready.
All right. So starting at page 31 here, the unusual layer of bismuth only.
It's bismuth. The unusual layered bismuth and Art's parts. Art's parts. I think they were called Art's parts because of the Art Bell show. I think isn't it that what it's called?
Yeah, something along those lines, and they started calling it Art's parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the unusual layer of bismuth and magnesium metal known as Art's parts reportedly retrieved from Art's
magnesium metal known
as Art's parts. I'm sorry, I made the same mistake twice there. Art's parts reportedly retrieved from
beneath the hull
of a crashed UFO. Could be an example of such a material. The phase conjugate is non-linear. And that's important, right, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on it. Absolutely. Yeah.
But sorry, guys, the phase conjugate is non-linear elements.
Which
worth percent
Great. Nobody can read my writing.
Would send time reverse.
Would send time reverse.
Would send time reverse.
Yeah.
Waves back to those noise fluctuation.
Waves.
Noise fluctuation creating
a coherent soliton that a certain incoherent energy
that would be
incoherent energy into
created a. Maybe I will try and read some of it. Maybe you guys can help me.
You try it, Ed, because you're probably the best.
So the fluctuations create a coherent soliton that would entrain incoherent energy into the self-amplifying energy resonance pattern. And again, that's really important. That's a real mouthful of a statement. And remember that these are all Paul's words. These are not my words. These are Paul's exact words. Thereby reversing entropy of that noise, because they were talking about the noise at the beginning there with the fluctuations. Since the soliton not only resides within the resonant circuit, but also, you know what?
Extends
I'm going to take
outward.
My glasses off, you guys. Then I can see. Extends outwards. Yeah, extends outwards to surrounding
space.
Yeah, surrounding space. Its resonance would entrain the surrounding energy and cool. So I highlighted cool because some of that work comes out of Sparky, who was Floyd Sweet, and his VTA, vacuum triode amplifier, which was a magnet that was specially conditioned. So and they found cool energy. The wires were so cold when they touched them, they got frostbite. So that's really interesting. Yeah. Its immediate
environment
Yeah.
Oblensky observed an environmental temperature drop when operating the 200 kilovolt
Pulse.
pulse discharge
Yep.
magnifying transmitter.
Yep.
He noticed that when he switched on his device, the temperature immediately dropped.
Dropped in
the surrounding room.
Yep.
He attributed this to the ether.
Yep. Ether's ability.
Ability of the ionized medium surrounding his dome electrode to phase conjugate shocks.
Yeah.
From
Shocks.
it's reflected back to the environment, creating a solitron wave. Something.
Yeah, soliton wave from the entrained environment, noise fluctuation.
Fluctuations.
Yeah, sorry about my handwriting, you guys, but thank you. I think it's working with all of us, like, trying to figure it out.
If Tesla's technology could be used to a large scale, on a large scale for power generation, the threat of global warming would indeed be a thing of the past.
Yep.
Russian physicist Vladimir Roshkin and Sergei Godin were testing a version of the cell effect generator that they refer to as the magnetic energy converter,
MEC.
MEC. They reported observing on 7 degree.
They reported observing a 7-degree centigrade drop
in room air temperature. When the MEC was in operation, with the temperature drop being confirmed to a series of
I think that's supposed to be concentric shell-like
cylinders surrounding the MEC spinning rotor of and space from one another at intervals equal to the MEC.
No, to the rotors. Rotor radius.
Rotor radius.
Yeah.
This suggests that the MEC was setting up a radial stationary wave pattern. That is a solenoid.
Okay, let's stop right there, because that is ultra important. A radial soliton pattern. So there was also patterns of interference patterns. So you had patterns of high and then low, essentially, but they had to figure out and make everything very precisely to make it work, right? But it's back to solitons again. It's always back to solitons with phase conjugate technology, right?
By applying high voltage AC across ceramic dielectrics oriented vertically at spaced intervals within its wing, the propulsion method would have been similar to that used in Brown's vertical lift electrokinetic apparatus and a vertical apparatus and a vertical lift
Acrylip and
sorry,
I think it says I concluded earlier, probably.
And I concluded earlier, this type of AC field propulsion would have generated soliton beams beneath
the
the
craft.
craft.
Mhm.
Yep. So back to solitons again, right? We can't get away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And a soliton is a standing wave. That's another name for it. Just so people understand, because sometimes the terminology screws people up.
What's this? Arts parts?
Yeah, arts parts.
Arts parts. Analysis showed that they consisted between a thick layer of magnesium zinc, 97 to 97.5% magnesium, and 2 to 3% zinc, and a thin layer of pure bismuth. The metals were exceptional purity. The magnesium zinc layers ranged in thickness from 100 to 200 microns, 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters, and the bismuth layers ranged in thickness from 1 to 4 microns. When examined in cross-section, it was apparent that the layer interfaces were not even, but rather contained microscopic undulations.
Yep.
Some researchers found it unusual that the material would jump when exposed to the high voltage field of a Van de Graaff generator.
That's funny because we have Carmen Miller as a guest today, and she personally knows John Hutchison, and he used Van de Graaff generators to do a lot of his stuff, actually. So yeah.
Hi everyone. I
Hi,
can
Carmen.
pop in here for a second.
Yeah.
Am I here? Wait a minute.
Just
here?
there you are. How's it going?
Good. Sorry,
Hello.
I'm in my bedroom. I'm in my bedroom.
I can't see you. Oh, cool.
Okay. I'm going to sit at the desk here. This is not my regular space, so I've been making do.
Oh, cool. Right on. So
yeah, I can't see myself. How do I do that? I go pull over one. There we go.
Maybe once we get done here, Carmen, we'll have a little chat, and if it's okay, we can chat on camera. If not, we can do it off. About John Hutchison and sort of your connection and just connection to everyone. Carmen knows everyone pretty much.
Shall I continue?
Go, please. Yes, part of my interruption.
No worries. It's awesome.
Discovery.
I'm just a newbie on here.
Discovery that a thin layer of monocrystalline bismuth exhibited a negative index of refraction at microwave frequencies.
So that negative index of refraction, guys, again, is ultra important to all of this. I'll let you carry on.
They sandwiched a 4.5 micro thick layer of monocrystalline bismuth between the metal plates as a between the metal plates as a the semi metallic bismuth acts
between the
as
two
a
metal
dielectric.
plates.
But they sandwiched a 4.5 micro thick layer of monocrystalline bismuth between the two metal plates. The semi-metallic bismuth acts as a dielectric, and the flanking metal layers acts as a waveguide wall.
And waveguides are used one of the to do phase conjugation as well. That's another way we do things. This one, yeah, hopefully we can get through this one because my writing is getting bad again, but give it a whirl, we'll all try.
When
Carry
a
on.
5,000 gigahertz microwave beam, 60 micron wavelength, was directed into the bismuth layer, the beam was found to refract negatively. That is, they found that over a narrow band of wavelengths ranging from about 53 to 63 microns, the bismuth exhibited a negative index of refraction. Theory shows that a dielectric can exhibit a negative refractive index if the material has permittivity and isotropy.
Very
That
important.
is,
Again, that's why I circled it. Sorry, that carry on.
that is different values of permittivity for different wave propagation directions relative to the dielectric crystal axis. And if permittivity in one of these directions becomes negative over a specific frequency range, while the permittivity in the other directions remains positive.
So that, folks, is the secret sauce right there. Very, very, very important. And barium titanate crystals tend to do this themselves. So that's why Brown went to that material.
The bismuth layered samples in the arts parts collection would also be expected to exhibit negative refraction of a 5,000 gigahertz beam. Metamaterials having a negative index of refraction are also capable of developing a strong repulsive force. The same may be repulsive force when exposed to a microwave beam. The same may be true of bismuth films. So it is possible that the layered material would develop a thrust when excited with 5,000 gigahertz microwave radiation. 100-watt free electron laser that has been tuned to a 5,000 gigahertz frequency might serve as an adequate beam source. If a thrust effect was found, it would be the first time that such an effect has been discovered.
Yeah. Now this next section, I honestly don't remember if I got this from Paul or where I got this, because this document is, if we could ever get our hands on this, this is what we would want right here. So I'll let you carry on.
Above top secret report number 13 of Project Blue Book, 1953, 1963. 624 page bound document found in England. Electric and gravity potential fields are coupled, and that electromagnetic waves and electric shock discharges are accompanied by a distinct gravity wave component. Metamaterials that have resonant frequencies in the microwave range exhibit strong repulsion forces when beams are tuned to frequencies slightly above these resonances.
Okay, right there. That is also the secret sauce right there. they have to be tuned to just slightly above their resonances. So when you build a metamaterial, you have to test it, figure out its resonance point, and then use it just slightly above. This what we just read is still classified, I'm pretty sure, this document. And again, I don't remember where I got it from, but it's super awesome information anyways, but we'll let you carry on.
Both Tesla and Bogdanov were feeling the repulsive by sawtooth shaped waves produced electron shock discharges.
Sawtooth.
Yeah, exactly. Back to sawtooth. Very, very important. That's cool. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Meg and whatnot a little bit more. We might have to help
the MEG and the CEG
SEG
generator.
SEG?
SEG, the MEG and plus SEG generator. That's the solar effect generator, I assume.
Yeah.
Clockwise
and
rotation.
Tom Bearden's Meg. And Tom Bearden's Meg you're referring to, right?
Tom Bearden's
Meg. Exactly. Yeah. And Carmen, did you know Tom Bearden?
No, but I have a file thick of all Tom Bearden stuff, and my dad and Tom Bearden had correspondence together and attended the same conferences. So they compared notes.
Passed away about the same time as Paul, I think.
Yeah.
They all did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's cool. I thought there was a connection to you and Bearden for sure.
It's really odd because the other day, I don't know if you saw the Bob Greenyer, most recent Bob Greenyer MFMP, MFMP, I think he's shortened it to now, Martin Fleischmann Memorial Research Project. He actually had a 3-hour conversation with me about a week before his conference, maybe 4 or 5 days before his conference in Prague with Paul Harris. And he had brought up the Meg right after we had our conversation. Somebody else brought up to him, oh, you might want to have a look at Tom Bearden's stuff. And then a lot of synchronicity came together, and he said, oh my God, I had this amazing conversation with Carmen Miller in Canada, the daughter of the inventor Bill Mueller. And his audience may find it all interesting that he found certain correlations with my dad's explanations and Tom Bearden's explanations on what's happening, which of course corresponds to everything that you're saying. And these guys are all finally catching up. And Bob Greenyer is the one who is studying on a microscopic level what's going on in the materials that John Hutchison has affected with his methods. So he is studying that on a submicroscopic level, and of course, like Ed and I, and probably all of you guys know, it's the work of built on the work of Ken Shoulders. He's exactly correct.
So you know, I think I texted this to you because I printed off the 600 pages of Ken Shoulders patents that Chris Beskar gave me, and I split the pile because it was too big.
So did I.
Cool. So I split the pile because it was too big to carry, and one sheet fell out. And I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was the charge cluster sheet that had, the blue charge cluster. So then I sent you, I'm pretty sure, Bob Greenyer's work and just everything that applies to it.
I sent it to Bob also.
Cool.
And he said to me, Carmen, I'm a little bit under the weather. I've been away from my phone for a week or two, so I'm still playing catch up, and let's endeavor to reconnect next week. So this coming up week, I'm going to talk to Bob again. I do have him on deck to come for 2 weeks in November for an intensive with me in the basement.
You told me about that. Yes. I can hardly wait for
another
that.
guy that I would like to invite all of you at the. I also have a guy who works for Berkeley Labs who is taking a month off to come and work with me, and he's going to update all of our CAD designs and get us right dialed in. And he's very familiar with opera. So he'll be able to do our finite element analysis and coil design optimized.
Wicked.
And therein is a little bit of the crapshoot with these motors, because, you know, you want to, like my dad said, you want to keep pulling it off. The more you pull it off, the more it gives you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are all familiar with my dad's device, but it's
talk a little bit about it, because it's almost, you know, we're talking about the Meg and Cyril's work. Your dad's work matters right here at this very moment.
It does. It's unfortunately in the hierarchy of all of those people as they've been reported on. My dad kept a little bit of a lower profile. Sometimes due to political things and people not allowing him to talk. Whatever groups we were involved with said, if you talk, you're going to not get any funding back then. And then sometimes just due to the fact that he was maybe so, I mean, Gene Manning wrote about lots, but often my dad would say, Gene, I don't want to be in this book. I got too much going on. And then too many people come again, and it was a distraction. So he often kept a little bit under the radar. And then when my mom died, you know, he became more of less involved because my mom was his appendages for those kind of things, to talk on the phone, to get my dad to keep him comfortable. So he slowly really became a little bit more reserved and didn't share his stuff. But I still kept my finger on the pulse of everybody, and I knew where he fit in the hierarchy. And in fact, of all these types of magnet motor generators, my dad's is has the most potential for a high-powered, easy application, micro size, megawatt, whatever you want to do with it, it lends itself to that. So let me quickly explain to you.
What type of generator is it?
Thank you, Brendan, for asking. So I'm going to explain. It's a rotor stator configuration magnet motor with a sandwich flywheel. In the flywheel are 16 Neo 32s at the time. That was the state of the art. Where it's all built out of phenolic. So it's not Lexan that you can see through, but I still have my dad's original machine. It's still operable.
We started it the day after my 50th birthday, remember?
Wow.
Yeah, he came to visit me. So it's not very often that I run that particular one, just for posterity and to keep it as a reference device. But that's why I want to invite these brilliant minds. My kids are finally old enough, my space is available, and I'm inviting the world actually to Penticton in about a year. I'm going to hold a conference here in Penticton.
Oh.
Did I tell you that yet, Eddie?
Not really.
I didn't tell you that?
No.
Yeah, well, I have now sponsorship. I have the Breakthrough Power people behind me. I told, or I mentioned to Bob Greenier, you know, we have Paul Harris and Gene Manning in our backyard. I'm here with my dad's motor and the Tesla prototype that I have. I actually own Nikola Tesla's very first prototype on a rotating magnetic field.
She does. She does.
Wow.
Right here.
On the chart, on the other, grab it on. And I was also going to say to you guys while she's grabbing that I grew up with all of this.
This is a really good book too, by the way, Eddie.
Oh, I can't. It's not focused. What?
I can stop sharing. I can stop sharing, and we can see it.
Close to mirrors.
Oh,
sorry, I'll show it to you.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
He's my favorite Russian scientist. You know that, actually. You absolutely know
I
that.
want to give you that book. Okay, I moved my paperwork downstairs, I think. Anyways, because I'm not where I live right now, I don't have my own resources behind me. I usually know where to grab every book off the shelf. But anyway, let me go back. So my dad looked at magnet motors and the inefficiencies of magnet motors, and that's what he did. He went to go and eliminate inefficiencies. He says, where do we have inefficiencies? First of all, we have it in cogging. So we have a static position. Whenever we have a magnet entering, the core is typically iron, let's say. Okay, we use a iron core, and the magnet, as it approaches, it sticks. Okay, so there's work required. I know I'm being a little simple. Work required to move that magnet from point A to point B to the next one. So when you have 16 magnets and 16 pairs of stators, coils, you have static position. And that is that's why you require 300 mile per hour winds in order to crank these generators.
Yeah.
There's a minimum torque speed for them to work efficiently. So what my dad did was he said, okay, how do we get rid of this static position? Well, what he decided to do was throw away one set of the coil pairs and leave an extra magnet. So now everything is like an elliptical in a moon, not exactly if you were to try to, draw it out like that. It's not exactly like the elliptical in a moon, but it's always pulling in and pulling out at 3 and 9 and at 6 and 12. There's always a little teeter-totter effect. So it's never really holding on. It always wants to rock between the two magnets. So it literally, that flywheel starts with less than half a volt, 175-pound flywheel.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Go on, like a starter motor in a car. We just give it a little impulse at top dead center. And of course, we produce the rest of the revolution, like any other magnet motor or generator. So then we have heat losses in the iron cores. That's the next big loss. 70% counts for all hysteresis losses. So my dad replaced the
yes.
cores with his own novel polycrystalline amorphous material that instantly likes to be a magnet, is completely permeable, and then totally and instantly forgets it was a magnet. So there is no magnetic memory, and magnetic memory is what creates the hysteresis or the heat losses that we have, which require then heat sinks and fans and everything that eliminate, that, basically take away from your true RMS when you're trying to measure
the efficiency.
these devices. So
the efficiency.
the simplest we can make it, the better. So that's what my dad endeavored to do in his lifetime. And then it was the electronics that kept, was out of his, because he didn't have the hands and eyes anymore. So he had a very good assistant that I still work with that knows all my dad's intricacies about how he did the timing. And it's not impossible to figure out if you're interested in pulse motors at all or stepper motors, then you understand how to drive these motors. But it's a very efficient motor. It's in a box about 4 feet, 3.5 feet wide by 3.5 feet tall. And it's, like I said, it's got 16 Neo 32 magnets, and it produces 35 kW. 35 kilowatts.
That's
incredible. And
to run a standard house is what, 8 kilowatts, is it?
Right. So you got 3 to 5 houses for every box. And it costs us right now to make them one of, I would say about 35 to 50, depending on what parts we all do, how far we
35 to $50 US dollars.
No, I don't think so. No,
35 to $50,000
to make one. Okay.
Yeah,
because their magnets are $250 each, $300 each. Your Arduinos are, add those up times 15 every time you go around. That's where all the money comes in. You can start to make it smaller, and you can start to see the effects in a small design, like my friend Ryan from Berkeley Labs is doing currently. And we've had others who have micro-sized them, and we've never really scaled it up, but we have had people scale them down. I have so many stories, but anyways, the technology works. The technology was vetted by a triple degree aerospace industry engineer that I had visit me.
Who I know, actually.
Yeah, who he knows too. I can't say the name anymore because he's gone down into basically like a skunkworks type project, and is no longer at liberty to speak with me. It was a restructuring of the company that sort of forced him, if he wanted to keep a job, he had to switch divisions, which made him have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which made him not be able to work with me. It was a tough choice for him, but it was the only choice. He had family and things he had to do, and it probably is one of those ways that somebody wiggled in to try to just hold it back a little bit farther again, because we were getting the right people together. So now I think if I hold this conference here in Penticton, I show my Tesla motor. Eddie, you have a platform. Anybody here in Canada has a platform.
Absolutely.
Like I said, we have Paul Harris here. We have, Bob Grenier, who would gladly come. So he's going to come and help me organize it. The two of us will be the hosts. And I hope to have it in October next year here in Penticton.
Oh, good. Because I'm actually going to Wyoming for the summer. We're going to build Al's going to build a helicopter. We're building a shop for the helicopter, and then we get to build this hot rod helicopter because we've always built cars all our lives, right? And he landed on Mount Logan, which is the highest peak in Canada. It's 19,500 feet, with this really hot rod helicopter. It had a bigger motor, bigger rotor system, oxygen. It's a really funny story because as he went up, he had an engineer with him. And there was only one oxygen. So they were passing it back and forth. And then at one point he just pulled it out and put it in and went to the top, did his thing. But this guy was already passed out, right? And he thought to himself, I need to get down before something happens to him, right? So a touch and go on Mount Logan is an absolutely incredible thing. So he sent me a picture of the Wyoming property, and he said, we built a heliport. And I'm like, well, why'd you build a heliport, right? And he goes, because the wife gave us permission to build this exact helicopter that he landed on Mount Logan with. So that's what we're going to do eventually down the road. Right. And Carmen knows Al very well because we all went to school together in Penticton. That's why I met Carmen. Yeah. I was also going to say, Carmen.
We know each other for a long time.
Yeah. It's you said static position, but there's something that you have said to me in the past called stiction, and that always stuck in my brain. So your stiction is like when you're like you described it, there's nothing to stop it from spinning. Is that a term? Do you remember that, or?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't remember that distinction term.
Maybe your dad told me that. I don't know. I don't remember, because I learned a lot from Carmen's dad, and it's so important to know also that Carmen's dad, he was in the Hitler Youth, not because he wanted to be, but he did see the Nazi flying bell. And so was he at Peenemünde then?
Yeah, Peenemünde.
Yeah, where they
and
anchored.
He was an interpreter. He was an interpreter in the war, so he actually never had an accent. Over here, everyone always thought he was Canadian. He never had a German accent, even with a last name like typical Müller. There was, that's like Smith here in Canada. It's like typical German. And my dad didn't have an accent, so he learned that also in the war, and that was part of his ability. They thought he was American even when he was young because he could speak English with a perfect diction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And is he still
my
alive
dad was
now?
very smart. No, pardon me. My dad's still. No, he's been gone 20 years now, and my mom's 30.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And your mom was
So
such
my
a
dad has
sweetheart
been.
too.
Yeah, my dad was. I realize now. My dad was 50 years ahead of his time, not 20, because 20 years ago when he died, he was still 20 years ahead. And now 20 years later, he's still not recognized, or it's still not come out the way it needs to. I think Bob Grenier is going to make a big difference in this.
Yes.
Because he's standing on his soapbox and he's not getting off.
Yeah. And it's charge clusters.
That if we were to have included the high-level quaternion mass, the heavy side emitted from Maxwell, we would have the ability to measure these machines in a negative fashion. Zero is a zero.
Yep. Oh, that's so well put. Thank you, Carmen.
this is the problem. This is the huge problem, is that, it's like all this censorship to keep us down. The other thing I have spent a deep dive in, because Tesla is he sits on my shoulder. My dad sits on the other one. Faraday's back there somewhere kicking my ass. But I'm telling you, Tesla, he was so screwed over by J.P. Morgan, and J.P. Morgan used him like a pawn. Go back and read. I just read, because I've been deep diving into world electrical history right at 1888, right at the War of the Currents, right when Tesla was looking for funding. In 1889, he left disillusioned again and was going to retreat forever, and he came back to New York. But he was so disillusioned then. And if you read the correspondence between J.P. Morgan and Tesla, which a book was written called The Wardenclyffe Papers by, I'll grab it for the group, Ernst Vandenberg. He's a Thai guy who builds, he's a Dutch guy who lives in Thailand, and he's building a huge Tesla tower.
Yes.
He wrote these books, and he was the one that asked for all the correspondence from the Belgrade Museum so he could compile a book. So I read his book, and I asked him, could you go over my notes of what I have to date about Tesla and what I believe is his lost prototype of his very first patent application. Not the very first. The very first one was 381,968, and it was a complete patent, and of all of his ideas together. And they said, no, that's too complicated. We want it piecemealed. So the first one then he resubmitted was 381,279, and that was his famous patent that he received when he famously drew in the dirt with his assistant Anatoly Szigeti in Strasbourg when they were walking one day, and he was reciting Goethe, and then with that he stopped and he said, now I see it in my mind. Watch, my friend. And he drew in the dirt how he thought a rotating magnetic field would work and explained it with the sun and blah, blah, blah. And that was his famous quote. Well, I have the prototype that corresponds to that patent. And the gentleman who obtained it from Cornell University, where Professor A.E. Anthony, who was Tesla's mentor, he would bring his stuff to Professor Anthony and say, what do you think about this, Professor Anthony? And Professor Anthony and him actually would work on things together. And we believe this prototype was found at Cornell University. So all of the posterity is there. I have the correspondence. I have Cameron prints from Tesla Universe. They want to test it for Tesla's DNA now. So apparently they have Tesla's
you told
DNA.
me that.
They want to test it for Tesla's DNA. We'll hopefully put a documentary together before some of these other old timers die, like the Ken and Jim Corum, the Corum brothers, Mark Safer, just a few of these others I would really like to invite to the table too. And because I'm not traveling with that particular prototype, because it's priceless, okay? It's priceless. So I'm going to make people come to me. Plus the same thing with the magnet motor of my dad's. I can't really travel too much with it. So I'm going to have a conference here. If it's 70 people or 700 or 1,700, I will accommodate.
Yeah, and so she's got the property there.
Yeah, I've got a very good lab and a home that can accommodate, just like a luxury vacation home with my lab in the basement. That's how I get to do all my cool stuff, is because I rent out the top part. And anyways, but that's where I can host kind of the keynote speakers, and then we can have some workshops in the basement with, some of the leftovers or some of the people that are really interested. And then we'll host a conference that'll help fund this and help give this a real big shot in the arm. Jean Manning is 84. She's not going to travel anymore.
Wow.
So this is something I really need whoever wants to volunteer to help to get this going, whether it's virtually or, doing a part of it, or attending or, boots on the ground
Well,
helping as we get involved in, because I'm going to build, I'm going to hopefully have 3 more prototypes built
Oh, good.
before, so I have the machine shop already dialed in. As soon as my friend comes from Berkeley Labs, he's going to have the new CAD drawings, which we can then give to the shop. They can get it all, all the hardware machined. And then basically my other friend from Berkeley and Jerry will just populate at least one for the conference and then have a couple backups. It depends on how many resources we have and how many bodies we have. Maybe we'll have a couple of them populated and we'll be able to say, hey, we got 2 or 3 running here.
Super
One's
cool.
Do you
here, one's
already
there.
do you already have a do you have the conference already scheduled, or is it kind of in the works right now?
No, it's just in planning stages right now. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Okay.
asking, Amber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Amber.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
Amber. I've heard lots about you, Amber. Thanks for
Awesome.
Danny Tucson.
And I just wanted to say
Yeah.
too that I was actually with Carmen when she got the patent from Belgrave on her phone, and she ran over and said, "Look at this." She ran over to me and showed it. I was physically there with her.
Yeah, so we were looking for some other smoking gun that would tie, because there's very few pictures of Tesla, of course, as we know, they're all regurgitated or generated or painted that people use. The few are all known. Sorry, where was I?
The conference
was the
and the
question?
patent.
Yeah, you were talking. We were talking about what came on your phone, and
Oh,
so you're
sorry.
looking for
Yes,
the smoking
so
gun, basically, right?
the smoking gun was this letter that we found. And then this was like the only letter we needed to find, a letter from Professor Anthony asking Tesla specifically for that motor or some reference to that motor. And
Yep.
he does. He asks, according to the, dear Mr. Tesla, according to your, I have asked Mr. Peck if it's possible for me after the 1st of May to borrow your small 2 motors that you demonstrated. I would like to show them to the Boston Society of the Arts on May 18th, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And he said this would be fine because your patent would already be issued. So with your blessing, I would love to be able to borrow that motor. And we didn't get a reply letter back from Tesla, but we are sure that he basically walked that little motor right over to his office because he passed by there every day in New York, and they only lived about a block and a half away from each other, Tesla and Professor Anthony.
Wow, no way. That's cool.
Yeah, way. And Professor Anthony kept, post-mortem, he kept an office in Cornell for a long time because he was the very first teacher of electrical engineering. That was the first recognized electrical engineering department in North America.
Yep.
Was at Cornell University. He started it. So
it's basically a magnetic. What you're talking about is a magnetic motor that your father designed or built.
Okay,
that's free energy. That's free energy, right?
No.
Yes, Brendan. But everyone gets these 2 things about me incorrect. So let me just clarify.
Yeah.
I'm in possession of 2 really fabulous devices. My dad's magnet motor, which is basically a state-of-the-art magnet motor generator utilizing neodymium magnets. We're utilizing all the best materials that we can.
Yeah.
And the original prototype that I have from Nikola Tesla, I bought from Tesla Coil Builder after I saw him on the Pawn Stars. I happened to be in Las Vegas. I don't know if you're familiar, Brendan, with the show Pawn Stars on TV on the History Channel.
No, I'm not. No,
it's
really.
really.
I can't remember.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Everyone
Okay,
knows
so
what it is
it's a
in
really
North America.
hokey show. Yeah, it's a really hokey show that people go to take their, whatevers and try to get some exposure mostly. And this is what this guy was doing. He didn't expect the Pawn Star guys to buy it because they can't pay for their own dentist and their alimony payments on the same month. So really, they weren't candidates to buy it, but he was trying to get exposure.
Yeah.
And by divine intervention, I was in that building and I said, did that guy just say Tesla? So it was meant to be that I became the steward of that prototype. That prototype, Brendan, to again clarify, is the prototype on a rotating magnetic field that Tesla applied for in 1887 and was granted a patent May 1st, 1888 on his rotating magnetic field, which all magnet motors and generators are based on to this day.
The whole modern world is
Amazing.
based on that prototype.
That was a two-phase prototype before he went to three-phase.
Yep.
That was his very first prototype on a two-phase rotating magnetic field, 90 degrees out of phase from each other. And as he switched, it would create the rotation. And that is what he visioned in the sand.
Yep.
And that's what he showed his assistant, Anthony Seghetti. And we believe 5 years later, when Tesla was digging ditches in New York at his lowest point when he started the Tesla Electric Company, that's when we believe he still crudely tried to put together this demonstrable device to be able to show, you know, his ditch digging friends and whatever. Like he did it with, like, it's a crude model, but it's because he probably knew he had to have something to show these investors. So this crude model that worked, and it's exactly the same, like the monolithic base, everything kind of points to the fact that Tesla built this with Seghetti. Yes, he would have probably, like, it's 150 years old, so we can't scrutinize the way it looks too much. It might have been more perfectly looking when it was first made, but now it's 150 years old and gone through, you know. What happened was it got sold at a thing called Einstein's attic at Cornell University. And Cornell University was famous for, you know, selling off priceless artifacts like Geissler tubes and things just to make room in their university for new areas. So they obviously got rid of, you know, Professor Anthony's office and put his stuff in storage in the attic and whatever. And then years later, you know, someone's trying to clean out the attic and they're like selling these things for 25 cents. So this Tesla prototype got sold for 75 cents to these people that worked at Cornell. And then they put it on top of their TV.
They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what it was.
Exactly.
They bought it because it was they collected old and interesting things. And then they said after they looked at it for a couple of years on their TV, they went, oh, you know, there's this eBay thing now. Maybe we should try to put it on eBay. And they mislabeled it as a rotary induction coil. And so when they mislabeled it as a rotary induction coil, he actually collects rotary induction coils. So that's actually what he typed in. And then this popped up. So again, divine intervention that the right eyes got to see it. And he's like, oh my God, this is exactly Tesla's figure 14 out of his patent 382279. So with that, he called his buddy, Jim Hardesty. Jim Hardesty, if you watch anything on TV about Tesla, he did all the PBS Tesla stuff. So Jim Hardesty is a legend in Tesla's history. So he calls up Jim Hardesty and he says, Jim, you got to go to Cornell. You know, Jim worked at Cornell and gave lectures there and lived near Cornell. So he said, like, he lived in Ithaca. So he said, Jim, could you do me a favor and go pick up this? Do you think this is what I think it is? And he goes, oh my God, do I ever? He goes, well, I just bought it. Go pick it up for me. And he goes, okay, where should I pick it up? And it was literally around the block. He could walk there. And he like couldn't contain himself. And he's going to that person's house saying, hi, we're the, you know, high bidders on your thing you sold on eBay. We're here to pick it up. Here's your $90 because Bill Weissock bid $90. And a few other people that knew Bill were going to go, you know, head to head with him. But they said, oh, it's Bill. We're not going to drive the price up. Let Bill have it. So Jeff Bahari and a few others bowed out of the.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that part.
There's lots to this story.
That's cool.
So anyway, by divine intervention, Bill Weissock got it. And then Bill Weissock was getting old. And he knew some people that knew some people on the Pawn Stars. He knew the guy that did Count's Custom Cars.
Oh yeah.
And so
I remember his
he
name.
had a mutual friend who also was a Tesla coil builder, Mark. Anyway, it's going to come to me. He wrote a really good book that's no longer in print, one of the only ones about Tesla coils, which I'll have to get a copy and share with you, Ed.
Did you give me that book? I think you might have gave me that book, actually.
Oh, I might have.
Yeah,
and
it's
my
up
aura
there.
goggles. Okay, there you go. Anyways, that's a very good book on Tesla coils. Mark Bean wrote that book. So Mark Bean was the one who orchestrated Bill Wysock taking this motor to the Pawn Stars, and then the Pawn Stars. We were in there earlier that day buying something completely different, having no idea that, like, I don't even know who Chumley and all these people were. My kids just said, Mom, if you're going to Vegas again, get me a t-shirt from the Pawn Stars. So, remember that funny story I told you about Ray crumpling the bottle and everything, and while they were doing the sound check, and he had no idea who Rick was, so he walks up to Rick and Chumley with this water bottle with their faces on it that Ray's just crumpled while the sound engineer is doing the sound check. And he walks up to Rick and he goes, "Hey buddy, can you throw this away for me?" And Rick is like looking at him like mortified. "Are you kidding me? Yeah, do you know who I am?" And Ray goes, yeah, the garbage is right there. Just throw it away. Anyway, you have to be there. It was priceless. No one has ever put that guy in his place like that. And then anyways, their expert, who is Mark Patton Hall, he is an expert on lots of things, but I'll tell you what he's not an expert on: Tesla.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He's an expert on Indian artifacts and lots of things, and that Rick has an answer for everything. There's a small market for people who are I'm gonna have to hold on to this thing for a while. I can't give you $500,000 like you want. But he goes, well, in this market, it should be worth $1 million. He said, but in this market, I would like $250,000.
Right. Yep.
And, I didn't pay $250,000, but I did offer to take him and his wife for dinner, and Mark Bean and his wife for dinner after that. Ray and I did. Yep. And then we visited him for about 2 years after that, doing our own due diligence and reviewing the paperwork. And then we finally made a deal, and we bought his whole library to keep it all together for posterity. And we bought some of his Tesla coils, some of his old stuff, his old meters, whatever we could to sort of just put some money in his pocket and keep his collection together. And so now I have his collection. And I have really done a lot to keep my dad's collection together. But as I get a little bit older now, and I realize, lifetimes are short. They're short. So I literally have 10 years to do this now. Yeah. I am, approaching 60, and I'd like, this has been a burden on my shoulders. Not a burden, but a labor of love. But it's heavy. It's getting heavy, you guys. Yeah. And I don't want it to get lost. So I know we have to have this kind of conference here in our own backyard, because we will have, I already have a list of 20 speakers that no one will say no to come in. Like Peter Lindemann will come.
Oh, wow.
Jean Nagging.
I was just thinking about what do you think of Stephen Greer in this kind of thing? Would Stephen Greer help out? Or is it not such a good idea?
No,
I do. I call Stephen Greer Dr. Greed. I call him Dr. Greed. Yep. He wants all the glory for himself. So even when he was involved with other people, invention stuff, it always fell apart because he would never give people credit. And he was always trying to be that hero. And now he's really taken it off in a different direction. I don't know. Okay, if you ask me, I think he's bought and paid for, and I don't know what his...
I can confirm that. I'll confirm that one, Carmen. He is.
Yeah, well, it's so obvious to me. He wrote me a
Do you-
letter when my dad died, actually, and
Okay.
sent his condolences because he was supposed to meet with my dad right at the very beginning when the big disclosure book came out. So,
Yep.
What was that, 2004, I think?
Do you know, what happened was, we did our episode with Dr. James Schwartz, right? And you and I.
Yeah.
On my channel, and Stephen Greer went and visited Dr. Schwartz a week after that, and then he actually put on one of his podcasts exactly the same pictures and everything that we saw, right? Except for he masked his voice, like put a computer over his voice, and didn't tell who it was, right? So, and someone in the other group, Kat, who's just wonderful, she found it and sent it to me. And I was like, she said, that looks like what we just did. And I said, that is what we just did, because James is actually part of this group, as you are now, Carmen, too, right? James Schwartz knew Paul Vallette very, very well. In fact, James told me that when Paul wrote Secrets of Anti-Gravity Technology, the most famous book ever on anti-gravity, right? It was James and Paul talked for hours. And we just went through, on the last episode that we did, we went through how Wardenclyffe worked. And I guarantee that is from James, because James shared with me the ground penetrating radar when he went to Wardenclyffe. And there is an Earth antenna down there for sure. It's a quadrupole with delta time built into it. I kind of discovered when I had a look at it. And James also went to Colorado, as you well know, Carmen, and he scanned and ground penetrating radar again. And 3 feet down, he found crates of Tesla's notes, right? So those two were the best of friends. And I think a lot of the information on Tesla's actual technology came from James, because he is the most eminent Tesla expert on the planet as far as the technologies go, because of his flex power generator. There's the proof in it, right? And that's why I had you on my show with him, because you're the second most eminent Tesla expert, right? That's yeah. So we definitely need to do this. This is go time, and everything after January 5th, things are going to be a lot easier on all of us because of Trump being in. And this is all because of, there's a connection to Stevati Aerospace and Chris Beskar and David Wilcock. They both had direct meetings with Trump. I've talked about Agenda 47 quite a bit, and that was Trump's thing. And it's all got to do with Stevati again, because the plans are amazing. They have 10 new cities planned in the States, and they're all going to be around the production facilities for the hover car for Stevati. And Chris talked about it, because I've been talking about Canada, right? So Chris told me that Toronto and Winnipeg are being looked at for facilities in Canada as well, too, right?
Wow.
So yeah, and
time to look a little further this way.
well, yeah,
Well, we're already becoming a technical hub. Kelowna area is like Canadian, what do they call it? A software hub, right? A technology town. They're starting to become. So I think it's kind of a natural for it to lead down to, into Penticton area. But I mean, going back to the conference, I think we could have the most unbelievable conference, and we'd have so many people in attendance, because we're actually going to show hardware. And what I'm really going to do at the end for everyone who attends, I'm going to give out shop drawings and
wow, cool,
disc with all my dad's information on it to every attendee.
Nice.
With instructions to copy and share.
Yeah.
So it's all the hardware. It's not the electronics. So we can still black box the electronics to people who don't do that, and we can sell them that. If they want it as a generator only, they want to pedal it, they want to put it in like a Pelton wheel on their property, they can. They now have the technology to have a high efficient generator that takes very little to, charge your bank of batteries.
Yep. Yeah,
so it's
that's beautiful.
It's the most simple way to do it. And so we give that away at the end. We showcase this Tesla prototype, the original Tesla prototype. We remind people what Tesla contributed every day to your life that we give
Yes.
Edison credit for.
Yep.
So my quest for Tesla is to give Tesla back his rightful place in history with regard to telling everybody he's the inventor of radio. He's the inventor
Yep.
of a rotating magnetic field that makes all of our lives easier, whether or not Westinghouse and Edison and JP Morgan manipulated him to steal his patents, basically. I think Westinghouse was actually in on it too. I
Yeah.
don't think that he was Tesla's buddy like everyone says.
Yeah.
Maybe he had more respect for Westinghouse, Tesla, than he did Edison. And that's why he was nicer to him. But I still think he knew both of them and all of them were fucking him over. And the only, pardon me, we're just being recorded.
Yep.
My apologies, audience.
Okay.
But he really was. There was no other word for it. JP Morgan screwed him over so bad. If you read the books of the letters and how many times Tesla begs and says, come on, Mr. Morgan, you are the most prestigious man in the world. Of course you would want this technology for the people of the planet.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no more funds to you, would be the answer from the secretary from Tesla. And you see Tesla beg and cry and plead, like he's groveling in the letters. It's painful to read.
Yeah.
And he broke him. And then he, we can go into all the other conspiracies, but what I believe is that all the other financial adversaries of JP Morgan, he put them all on the Titanic, which wasn't the Titanic.
Ooh.
And he sunk it.
Wow.
You don't know that conspiracy?
No.
Go. I didn't start
Wow.
it. So you go Google Tesla, JP Morgan, and Titanic in the same
Wow.
line.
I'll check that out.
And then
Yeah, I'm
come back
definitely
and
gonna
talk-
look that up.
Yeah. And
Okay, so what it was, I'll tell you in the short version. JP Morgan owned the White Star Line, which had
Yep.
three
oh wow. Yes.
ships. One was the Olympic, one was the Titanic, and one was the Britannic. When he found out he was no longer going to have insurance on the, I'll write these down in front of me, Titanic, Britannic, and the Olympic. When the Olympic was found to be running out of insurance and running down, he whitewashed it, took the plate off of the brand new one he was building called the Titanic, put it on this one,
Oh wow.
sunk this one, whitewashed it, prettied it up. That's where the term a little bit whitewashing comes from too. Along with all the, they whitewashed everything for the big Columbia World Fair.
Right.
That's where that came from too, because how do they erect all that stuff and how do they get rid of it all just like that? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and oh God, I could go, you guys are so, you're well versed in all of this stuff. So as it comes up in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got to remember to tell them that and that and that.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on with what Bob Greenier's put together. All my stuff with what I worked on with Chris Dunn and learning about all pyramids and, it's all, they're all power plants built on power, ley line nodal points on our planet.
Could you tell us how many times you've been in the King's Chamber?
Oh, one day I was in there 12 times. We were helping the Scan Pyramids Project people repair it.
Yep.
Repair their muon photography. So what muography is they're looking for cosmic rays that, come from outer space. And when these guys put these they're like photosensitive paper back, like when we had old cameras. And then they put these plates down and they measure how many of these particles penetrate. And if more particles penetrate a certain area where they have these, that's where they can discover the voids. So there's another void above the Grand Gallery that they found. There's another void behind the old original entrance of Mahmud.
I didn't know about that one. Wow.
Yeah, and
You never told me about that one.
that I did work with that aerospace engineer on that,
Yes.
and I know all the directors of the Giza Plateau and you know, people that can get you to places.
Zahi Hawass, I think you knew him, didn't you?
Oh
He's the
God, that's a
antiquities
bad
expert.
word. Right, I shouldn't say that. That takes me out of Egypt. But seriously, he's.
Okay.
But if you ever, yeah, you know, you never get the real story if you go to Egypt. You get this spoon-fed narrative of this is for tombs
yes.
and this is mummies and blah blah blah, and
Yep.
nobody gives the real technical tour like Mohammed Ibrahim from
Yes.
Saba Tours. He is, you know, who Chris Dunn and I would travel with. So he knows a lot of these places. He's very well connected. But in having gone to Egypt quite a few times with Chris, I've been able to form my own friendships with some of these people. And
Yep.
I think I'm going to take Bob Grenier back there
Oh,
because
cool. Oh.
Bob's found evidence of electrode holes in all of these megalithic sites.
Wow, that's cool. So cool. One thing I wanted to say about Nikola Tesla, and this is directly connected with Stevati Aerospace, is that Niagara Falls was where the whole modern world started with Nikola Tesla's. It started with the prototype that you have, literally.
Right.
And then
this is exactly what I need to have people understand, because people just take it all for granted. It was 150 years ago. And now we're misappropriating this technology, not measuring these other technologies that are far better for our population to utilize, and which was what we were supposed to use, because we're in disharmony now. The one thing that I have always said that I actually got from Tom Bearden and one of his talks, something that sat with me the most was him saying, if we were to come out with these technologies en masse yesterday and implement them and eliminate every other chlorofluorocarbon or the internal combustion engine tomorrow, and we came out with these en masse and we're able to flood the market and everyone had one, guess what? We still have a huge lag effect to overcome to try to fix the damage that we've only done in only a few hundred years.
Oh, exactly.
With what we've done, we don't care. Nobody cares. So I realized that there is no one saving us. We can't wait for the next generation. Look
we
at what
have
we
to
have.
do it. Yeah.
We have to do it. So I just finished telling, a few people. I used to care, like, for my parents. I tried to help them navigate who were the ones to trust and who weren't. That's why we kept a lower profile. Stephen Greer, when he first came knocking at my dad's door, I got a bad feeling.
Yep.
And then over the years, it's only proven right to me. So that's why you've never heard me contact Stephen Greer again.
Yeah.
And he knows that. And he knows we have some of the best technology. But again, he's a Rothschild bought person.
Yeah.
And he has his own agenda to have people,
So
to be able to control some of the people in this field. That's
and he's been going on it. Stephen Greer's been doing it for such a long time. You'd expect him to have achieved something by now.
Yeah.
It's just the same story. It's just
exactly.
And now he's gone off to summoning UFOs. Like, what?
Yeah. So with Stevati, what I was about to say was the whole modern world started in Niagara Falls, and this is actually I think this is actually definitely something that was engineered. The facility that they got in Niagara Falls for prototyping will change the modern world again with all of these technologies, because it's charge clusters. And this is something that we never, I talked about it with your father. Your father mentored me as far as all of this stuff goes way back when. I used to actually go over and get really stoned with him all the time. And we'd talk high physics for hours. And your mom was just fantastic. Like, so this is how I grew up, was with Carmen's parents and all of this stuff. Tom Bearden.
You knew Carmen from when you were younger. When you were much younger, you knew Carmen.
15. I met Carmen when I was 15. So in high school, I'm already going over to her parents' place and whatnot.
I
And
had
then
the wacky inventor dad, and everybody who thought he was cool would come over, and he would just sit for hours and hold court and teach these guys about life and the world and magnetism and
I
how
will
things work.
never forget this, Carmen, because he scared the bejesus out of me. Remember how he used to have water and he would make hydrogen out of it,
Yes.
and then he would light it
I
with the
still have
barbecue.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And then he would light it with the barbecue lighter. And I think he waited extra long just for me to scare me, because it was
Blow
like a
your ears.
shotgun going off, right? It scared the bejesus out of you. But it's a simple process.
You know,
right?
yeah, you know how many people I freaked out at 3 o'clock in the morning when they said, "Oh yeah, let's go downstairs." I'm like, okay, pour some soap in the water and turn it on, and like it's copious amounts in seconds, with very little amperage on my dad's little unit, which is about the size of 2 cell phones together.
Yep.
And it produces, like, that's another thing we need to start to build and apply.
I think people need to build them.
Also.
I think when it comes down to it, it'll just have to be grassroots. People have to build their own and forget about
Right.
the government or the officials. Just build their own. Don't tell anyone. Build one for your friends or something, but just have it in your own, let it grow grassroots level.
I think that's why Carmen
that's
is
why I want to
handing
have
out.
a conference in Penticton where no one can, everyone knows me, so I can't be taken out. I don't have to travel with either technology, which is basically the beginning and the end. We have the beginning with Tesla, and we have working free energy technology that anyone can touch and feel and see where the efficiencies come from at the same conference. So we're going to come full circle, and we're going to cover everything in between, and then we're going to say, where do we go from here? And I'm going to give everyone who comes the plans.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. You're going to provide the shop drawing. So that's exactly what people need to reproduce these things, right? Yeah. It's fantastic. So fantastic.
Sorry.
So how much would it cost to build one on oneself?
I think
well, it depends on the size. Just one second, I'll come back. Depends on the size. But the prototype, the 35 kW prototype, we are modeling it exactly like my dad's. So there's no margin for error. Okay.
Right.
We're going to just do it exactly the same. Then we can start to improve our efficiencies. Sorry. Oh geez, how did that happen? Sorry, my speaker came on. There we go. Sorry, question again?
So I was just saying, how much would it cost to make a unit to power a small home or something like that? So.
Well, like I said, I think we're going to be able to bring the costs down eventually. And I think there is ways to build exactly the same thing with a little simpler and with a little less expensive materials. I'm certainly going to try to build it exactly the way my dad did, and then either beef it up or strip it down, whatever we can, just to make
both.
it
or both.
Right. And I think it will happen naturally that people will share into like an open source. We'll be like the Red Hat, but we'll have an open source forum where everybody can share what their improvements have been. And that will be part of, the package of getting it for free. You have to, share back your beta field test or whatever. Like that'll be part of the agreement.
Little community.
And then, and then any improvements can be adopted by any other people who have had the original plan. So to answer your question again, Brendan, I would say anywhere from $10,000 because the materials and electronics aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Machining isn't cheap. Your time isn't cheap. So I don't know if you're going to do all the work yourself or you're going to farm it out. So I'm going to say between 10,000 and 30,000.
Yeah.
Some costs have come down. Some costs have gone up exorbitantly, and I haven't had a chance to reevaluate where they sit right now.
It's basically it's a type of magnetic motor. It's a magnetic motor
It's the
principle.
most efficient magnetic motor that's ever been developed.
All
And
right.
that's why
That's
Tom
correct.
Bearden and John Hutchison and just all of these people were involved. So when people came to visit John Hutchison in Vancouver, Penticton is only like 4 hours away, and they would go visit Carmen's father as well, or Bill Mueller, right? They
Often.
would,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who ever went to see John Hutchison usually came to see us too. And and we've always known John Hutchison because Jean Manning, who wrote the book Angels Don't Play This Harp with Nick Begich, she wrote the book Breakthrough Power.
right here,
She
Angels
wrote
Don't Play This
Angels
Harp.
Don't Play This Harp. It's about
Yep.
the high frequency aerial auroral research project in Alaska.
Yep.
And it's cooking our ionosphere, by the way.
Yep.
And playing with our weather and our minds and everything else. Like,
Yep.
yeah. Anyways, I'm reading a book right now that's a reprint of Dr. Andrea Puharich that he wrote about Tesla that was very obscure and hard to get. So this guy just republished it. It's actually he's on TikTok. He's on TikTok, maybe YouTube too, as Museum of Tarot.
Okay.
And he rewrote this book, Cozy Rev Mirrors.
Yep. Wow. Got to get that.
Time Control. Why isn't that? And then, so his name is Brent Stone. Is that showing up? Anyway, he's on, what is it
Cool.
doing?
Just got to take it back in my car. There it is. That there.
Brent Stone there.
Time travelers revealed.
Yeah.
Those are mirrors.
Very cool.
And it's super, like, it's a really, I want to say, easy to read because it's got nice big writing in it and all the stuff. Like,
That's funny.
He's got it all in there. He's done a very good job. And he actually regurgitates a lot of this information. He's a very smart guy, this guy. He actually produces his own cyanin glasses, this guy. He's one of the only ones that does it correctly. This Brent Stone, the creator. From Museum of Tarot.
Yeah.
So he's on YouTube and he is also on TikTok, as far as I know. I haven't really listened to lots of him. I just happened to notice one day that he was reproducing these books and I went, oh, I got to order those. So I ordered those, and the one is Puharich's work on Tesla. And you should see how dog-eared that book is by me already.
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
about halfway through it. And it is like, you can tell the half I haven't read, and the half I have read is this thick already with red and yellow and orange and exclamation marks in the margin lines. Yeah. Well, it's because I'm visual. So if I circle
Me
it,
too. I do exactly the same thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're my books, so I'll order a new one if I don't want one that's marred. But I do find this guy that he reproduced that. He's also, somebody I wouldn't mind him coming to speak as well. If anybody thinks of anybody else that might be a good candidate and would like to speak, I'm all for that.
Let's talk a little bit about Cozy Rev, just because you brought him up, and he's my favorite.
Okay. And why not?
Yeah.
Great.
And let's talk just a little bit about new aerospace technologies and who Alexander Frolov is, your connection, and what happened. Because Carmen actually. So what happened was October 30th of 2021. I had a Zoom call with David Wilcock when he told us that he had bought Stavati Aerospace to build hover cars and all this stuff. So the next day, I posted the theory of anti-gravity according to Paul Valet's work, subquantum kinetics, on David Wilcock's forum. And oddly, it ended up number 51, because that's where Chris Beskar kind of comes in. But it was all Paul's words, except for one line. And I said, I think I suggest that the key to anti-gravity is a gravity gradient. And Carmen, when she read that, she immediately got a hold of me and asked me to help out with Alexander Frolov's book, Neurospace Technologies, which is the best ether physics book that has ever been written, hands down. And even Chris Beskar has got hard copies of that, right? So, and I've sent it to a lot of other people, you know, that should have it essentially. And it's a wonderful, wonderful work essentially. But Carmen knows Frolov, so maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how it all sticks together.
Alexander Frolov. Okay, well, he really doesn't like women. He doesn't like me. He doesn't, he doesn't. He's just super arrogant guy.
Yeah.
And he was even back then. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it was, but somehow he's very brilliant, but I don't know that he, yeah. I mean, he didn't understand some of the things we were trying to help him with, and he thought, I think we weren't trying to help him, that we were trying to, I don't know what with him. Because remember, he got all angry for no reason, really.
Yeah.
Remember in the correspondence? You dealt more with that, so I don't quite know. But I said, sure, you know, I'll help you. I know someone who can help translate that. And then Eddie did such a good job, and then there was a little bit something lost in translation, and he got mad or something.
Yeah.
Remember?
I think part of what happened was I started before the war started in Ukraine, and I had it pretty much done before, because I sent you, actually you have the copies. Actually Amber has agreed to help us edit that if at all possible at some time, actually.
Well, you know, Ed, I was just going to interject earlier when Brendan was reading your stuff. Do you know how easy it is to scan it with your iPhone and then ask it to just translate it to text, keep the text only, and then it turns it into, you know, just a font.
A PDF, like a PDF.
It just turns it into font. You can put it into whatever you want after that. But convert your handwriting, scan it, and you know, you might have to edit it a little bit, but you just scan it, and then he doesn't have to try to read your.
It's probably about time, but I did this on purpose, big time on purpose, because anyone that has ever read this will know what it is because of how hard it is to get through. And I've had a bunch of people come back that I've sent it to that have said thank you. In fact, there was a guy that was in the
videos.
Tim, sorry.
The videos that we did of reading it. You mean?
No, the actual
text.
The text. Actually, I sent it to Drew. Drew's part of Tim Ventura's community, right? And he's already got funding. The mission is a go. They've got a mission to go to Mars with his own funding and everything, private funding. And I sent him the stuff.
I know who that is. I know who the money guy is of that
group.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So Drew, I don't think Drew read it. I think one of his technical guys finally went through it. And then Drew came back and said, thank you, because in there I described how to get to Mars in 5 days. And Drew came back and said, so cool. All of your research sort of follows what we're working on with T.T. Brown and everything. And we're going to get to Mars in 8 days. And the mission is already a go. It's something they're already doing, right? So the papers have been all over the place, but I did do it on purpose so that when people saw it, they knew exactly what it was. And you have to understand too that the very first person to get these papers in the whole world, maybe Carmen actually might have got them before Elena, but Elena Denon was the very, very first person in the whole world that got them. And then 3 days later, so did Dr. Sala. And then I thought to myself, oh no, I actually should talk to Paul about this. So I sent them to him, and we had corresponded back about 3 weeks after I started releasing them. But I also, I didn't send my papers to Donald Trump, but I sent him a message about subquantum kinetics, and I didn't know about Stavati Aerospace at that point, but the whole thing, you know, that I'm talking about, and he sent me a thing back, and I got that in April 16th of 2021. They received, you know, the stuff back. And then later I found out about Stavati and how closely David Wilcock and Chris Beskar were connected to him. They had a direct meeting with him in October of 2020, right? Yeah. Amber, okay, yeah, we have to probably go just a little bit longer. So maybe next time we'll carry on with my papers, but it's been so awesome to hear everything about your conference, and we've probably
Yeah,
got a
it's
little
very,
bit
very,
more
very, very
time.
interesting, Carmen. Very
Does
interesting.
Amber or
Thank
anybody
you.
else who's here want to ask Carmen any questions?
I do have a quick question, Carmen. I know you
Sure.
mentioned, I know you mentioned a little while ago about making this technology open source, and like I find that like really awesome because before I even got involved in in this and subquantum kinetics, I wanted because I have a bachelor's in physics and I have 2.5 years of professional experience as a software engineer. And well, the thing with software engineering, there, you know, you have Linux, which is totally open source, and there's open source software. And I was like, the nice thing about having open source software is that everyone has access to it, which means everyone can contribute to make the software better, and everyone works together to make it better. And when you were talking about making this technology open source, that makes me excited because then we can all contribute to it, and we can all put in, you know, we can all pull in, you know, our mental resources and our individual knowledge to make it better.
Yeah.
And I just
Yes,
find that super
everyone's own
exciting.
attributes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree, Amber, and thank you for acknowledging that. I think that is the only way forward for any of this type of technology. It has to be given away. Like
Yes.
Tesla said,
So,
give it away. And you know, it all comes back to you. So
Yeah, and Amber is the generation that changes. It has to change everything. We're the ones that are sort of the welcoming committee and showing them all the science and all of the stuff. But it's going to be Amber's generation that actually makes the real change that needs to occur, and that's the biggest part of the job, as far as I'm concerned. Right?
Carmen, back in this is ResearchGate, which is like Facebook for scientists. Back in 2020, when I was first working with Paul, first few years working with Paul, I took one of Patrick Kelly's chapters and put it. I've also put his book, Patrick Kelly's book, on ResearchGate.
Cool.
And,
my dad knew Patrick Kelly, and my dad's in Patrick Kelly's book.
He's in Patrick Kelly. So I looked up Miller. I looked up Miller. Is that Dr. Miller? Is that your father there?
It's Mueller.
No, Muller. Wilhelm Mueller. Muller. Brendan.
Mulle.
Mull, just like Miller, but with a U.
Yeah, I got it here. So this is Patrick Kelly's book. Miller Motor.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep,
Mueller,
that's it.
There.
Yeah.
Bill Mueller did.
Okay, well, that's a rotoverter that somebody else built, but keep going up and you should be able to find that. The rotoverter is after my dad died.
Okay.
And that was somebody else in the rotoverter was built in the UK by wait a minute.
So I was just gonna show you here that on ResearchGate, I put up back in February 2020, I took from Patrick Kelly's book, I edited what's it called, assembling a water fueled cell and HHO electric generator, and I've received 67,000 downloads or reads in 4 years.
Wow.
67 downloads, 67,000 downloads. So if you wanted to, I mean, if you wanted me to help you out with make it open source, I could put it on here, and you can see here the Patrick Kelly's guide. I put that February 22, and it's 21,000 downloads or views.
Yeah, Brendan has a lot of resources.
Most of those people downloaded that book looking for my dad's work.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that right now.
So I mean, you can do it. I mean, if you wanted me to help you out, I could put it. I could post it on my ResearchGate, and that might help. Or you could do it whatever way you're going to do it, you know. But Don Smith, that's also high-powered devices of Don Smith. That's quite popular, 15.
So Don Smith is somebody also near and dear to my heart. I spent the last few years of Don Smith's life interviewing him and recording him.
Wow.
I flew to Texas. Well, I had a group working for me in Dallas, Texas, and just outside of Dallas in Allen, Texas, or close to there, I think, was where Don Smith lived. So I went to go visit Don Smith, and I have the very last videotapes and audio interviews of him. I have
Yes.
All right.
posted
Because they're
anywhere.
saying Patrick Kelly was saying he's one of the most impressive free energy devices. One of the most impressive developers of free
He was
energy.
insanely good.
Sorry?
Yeah, and I have all Don Smith's information.
Yep.
Yeah, Don. Mm-hmm.
So I've had 50 of
Yeah,
that, but I
lifetime
posted that on December. I put that up on ResearchGate in December 22. I've had over 15,000 downloads or views on that. So,
That
so,
is
so it's one, but
excellent.
that's one way to make it open source, is to put it on, open a ResearchGate account or use someone else's ResearchGate account. And then quite a lot of people, and it's open source. So this will be a view to the public. So even if you're not in ResearchGate, you can still go to ResearchGate without logging in and download it.
Yeah.
Most of these people have been outside
Excellent.
ResearchGate who've done it though.
Yeah. So that sounds like a wonderful thing for sure. Yeah.
That's one way
Thanks,
of getting
Brendan.
it.
I will. Yeah, no, I will definitely keep that in mind. Like, we'll cross all these bridges as we get there. I have zero opposition to getting it out in any way, shape, or form.
Awesome.
Zero.
Yay.
I just want it out there.
Absolutely.
And I'll answer any question, and there's no secrets, and there's no secret sauce. I'll share it all.
Yep.
That's
I
the
might
best way
not
to do
know
it,
all
open
the
source.
answers. Yeah, I might not know all the answers, but I'll know where to find them. You know what I found? I really did think I wasn't qualified to take over my dad's work. So I sat on it, and I had kids, and, I was a good mom and everything. And then once I worked with Christopher Dunn for about 5 or 6 years going to Egypt, and then this aerospace engineer actually bought his book. And then Chris said to me, "Oh, Carmen, you need to talk to this engineer that's, bought my book." And I was like, "Why? Why do I need to talk to him? Like, that'll be like a 4-minute conversation." And he said, no, you need to talk to him about your father's work. And I'm like, "Chris, I put that to bed already. I'm working with you now, doing other things." And he's like, no, he's going to understand. You need to talk to him.
Oh, wow.
So I started to talk to him. And when I started to talk to him, I realized I knew all the answers. I just needed to have the question asked to provoke the answer out of me, because I don't know
Right.
how to just start from the beginning and go to the end to explain it unless someone asks me a really, pertinent question about those kinds of things. And then it's like a broken record in my head. I remember the answer that my dad would give, or the answer that I was used to hearing. So then it takes the question from you smart community people to provoke those answers out of me, because I wasn't the originator of the technology. It's not mine. It's my dad's. So I've had to learn just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So you knew Patrick Kelly, or your father knew Patrick Kelly?
Yes.
And
In fact,
I've heard that he's died. I thought he had died
yes.
a few years ago.
I know they attended the same conferences together. My dad, and that's again going to come full circle, because I think I am going to call this conference a meeting of the minds.
Oh.
With a reference to, Tesla, free energy, whatever, gravity control, whatever seems most appealing. I'm going to, because it's we have to dumb things down for certain people to attend, make it real simple, and then they realize, oh, it's complicated, but it's actually simple. So, anyways, I do think we will create a wave in the community that hasn't been done before. We haven't had a really good conference in this genre of technology for a long time.
Yeah.
And my dad originally, like I said, started to go to these meetings of the minds that the magnet manufacturers were hosting. So, for instance, my dad would get his magnets from a company in California, They were based out of Temecula, which they're now in Albuquerque, but they were called AZ Industries. And AZ Industries produced a magazine called Magnets in Your Future. And this was about, I have every edition. You know, they wrote about Marcel Vogel and different cutting edge stuff about this, you know, area of science and how magnets are going to be in your future. And each magazine was had a cost of $25, which was a lot of money 25 years ago. It's like buying $100 a copy of magazine. Okay. So there was a lot of good information in the Magnets in Your Future, and the meeting of the minds were great. And my parents went for a few years, and that's where we would meet with the same Tom Beardens, Patrick Kellys, you know, the people that had hardware and the people that were interested in this. I mean, we had Joe Newman at one of them with his huge, you know, the size of my room here. Motor. And him and his shtick and his books and his stack of books, and they were $200 or $300 each. And
Amber,
you know, he
Amber,
was.
Amber, if you want to leave at some point, you could just make me admin, and then then we can continue when you've left.
Yeah, sure.
We'll go for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'll need to actually before I leave, I'll need to stop recording.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Yeah, we can do that, and then we'll just talk a little bit more because I actually have another meeting coming up here as well.
I do too.
real soon. Yeah, and then we need to talk more, Carmen, about everything, because I would love to maybe be on a Zoom call when Bob is with you, like, you know, in October.
That's my next thing to talk with you about. Just even actually coming up, I would like that. Like maybe next week. So we can definitely discuss that too. But I'm super happy to meet all you guys, and
yeah, it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was very nice
you
to meet
too.
you.
It's a pleasure.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Christopher,
thank you, Carmen.
hi. Yeah.
Very cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Chris,
Thank you.
Chris is able to, he talks to Mariana, Paul's wife, quite often, because I think you were located near her when she's in America or something, Chris?
Yeah. Well, one of Paul's residences in upstate New York, and I'm on Long Island, so I was the closest in proximity. I think Justin is in
Detroit.
Illinois. I'm not sure he's in another state, but it's a little longer drive for him.
Yeah.
You're in Long Island.
Detroit,
well,
yes.
have I got a
Yes.
job for you? I need someone to go to Cornell University for me and start asking the librarian and the old timers there, where do we have an office for Professor Anthony? Where is any of his stuff? Do you guys have any? Like, that's what I need someone to do. Or I wanted to come to Long Island and go to Ithaca and go to Cornell and say, okay, this is what I'm researching, and do you know, show me what you have on Professor Anthony. Who knows about Professor Anthony? He's your, you know, cornerstone of your university. And you got rid of his whole office? Like, what? Are you nuts?
Yeah.
Anyways, they didn't realize it 30, 40 years ago that getting rid of his office to make space for a new classroom was going to be sacrilegious.
Yeah.
But it was sacrilegious, okay?
Absolutely.
And then selling some of these items that, you know, he probably, and because Tesla moved on to three-phase so quickly, it made sense for him to give that motor to Professor Anthony and let it sit on his desk and let him show the students, because it was just to show the basic principles.
Yeah.
And after that, it was to.
Carmen, is this the name of the device that your father made? This one here?
No, the rotoverter is a subset machine built after my dad died or during the time. Like, I think these are replicators that you see. Keep going, scrolling back up. I'll show you if it's my dad's stuff.
So that's what is it? Does you have to go further up?
Yep. Keep going.
Go.
Okay, that's where they're making the black sand cores, I think. Let me see. Oh, that might be it right there. Let me see. What did that one say? Can't zoom in on this one. Oh, yeah, it is. No, well, of course, this works like our very first, like Tesla's. Okay,
Monopole.
that's the end machine. Okay, that's the end machine. Infinity salve motor, no.
I mean,
Why do I
there's
have
about
it?
2,000 pages in this, so
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely going to find it if you just Google
but it's
Mueller
just
magnet
mentioned.
motor.
Mueller,
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
that's it
That's-
there.
Mueller motor.
Yeah. So, but my dad, Patrick Kelly, actually has my dad's actual construction. Like, it's probably an old prototype that he has in Patrick Kelly's book, because
wow.
my new one, state-of-the-art one, is a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But, you know, this is somebody else just using it as a generator only. And I know the rotoverter was rewiring of existing three-phase motors.
Yeah.
That's what the rotoverter was.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I can remember that guy was rotoverter. He had a weird name, that guy. And a lot of these people actually who replicated my dad's stuff, either after super enthused, like they disappeared after, is what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They disappeared. They went
10 years ago, yeah. Yeah, they either said, oh, I got too much attention because I posted that I replicated Bill Mueller's device, or I don't know, like back then, I mean, I was doing other things than kind of listening to the politics of what was going on in my parents' basement and, you know, what was going on. But now I'm going through all the paperwork and I read everything, and then I re-Google all the people's names, and I'm like, holy shit, the people that came to my parents' house. And then I see whether they were good guys or bad guys from all down, able to see 20 years later.
Yeah.
And hear what everybody else talked to them about. So there were, you know, real assholes in this group and in these groups, either trying to, you know, obtain or suppress this type of technology for their own benefit.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't the right timing then. It's the right timing now.
It's
And
go time.
as I started to say earlier, I don't care anymore about if I get offed. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And my kids are grown up. They're, you know, they have nothing to do with it. So why go after them? They can't hurt me with my children anymore. I don't have to protect my parents anymore. Now it's just time for it to come out.
Yeah. Well,
And
maybe next week, Carmen, we can sort of continue if you want to join us again next week, and we can carry on, and if you have time.
Absolutely.
Or any time you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm so excited about this conference, and yeah, I'm all in, definitely. And
I just think that is the path of least resistance. How else am I going to get this technology showcased? I want to invite people to work with me on the magnet motor. Like, I mean, the most elite people.
If you want to get it, so if you wanted to like publish, you make it open source. I could help you make it open source of my ResearchGate if that helps. If you wanted that, or if you were okay with that, I could put it.
But I want to do that right at the end of the conference. I'm going to offer it as like a teaser that says, you know, if you sign up, you won't be sorry, because you're going to leave with more information that you've had before. In fact, you may, you know, I'll allude to the fact that you're going to be the first ones to get the drawings from the source if you come and attend this conference.
Yeah.
We'll show you hardware. There'll be hands-on discussion. We'll have opportunity to, you know, review many of the documents, and there'll be lots of handouts on every subject matter that we all talk about, because I have a book of information on all of it. And if we made it available on PDF file or hard copy as an additional income stream at the conference, we make a few T-shirts. We have the shtick like everybody else. Okay, that's how they all make their money.
And I can once you have the conference sort of lined up and set up, I'll pass it on to Chris Beskar as well too. And right. Yeah,
if we could get any of those guys to come. I mean, we're going to put Penticton on the map. It's a beautiful place to attend and come. Our area.
Absolutely.
It's like Napa North
It's-
of Canada.
it is.
No,
It's-
like, and it's a convention capital, our little
yeah,
town.
yeah, it
So
is.
we can host 2,000 people, and the venue was donated to me. People will help, and once this ball gets rolling, there's going to
the
be
convention
going to be
center.
perpetual.
You're talking about the convention center probably when you just said that, right?
Well, if I need the convention center, yes, and that is also a no-brainer. I'll be able to
Yep.
put people up there. But the Lakeside Hotel, David
Yep.
Christie will probably be where I'll start, and then if it becomes unmanageable for that venue, I'll move to the men's center.
Maybe we could invite David Wilcock, because I asked, Chris texted me, I think last weekend or whenever it was, and I asked him previous that to say hi to David Wilcock for me, and he said he would next time he sees him. So they're in contact, and yeah, it'd be neat to get one of those guys. But even if they can get the word out also, because Chris knows everyone, right?
I just looked up your father's name here and found this. I don't know if that's Muller Motor, self-running fringy Muller Motor.
So then again, this is Romero UK's version, and this is somebody selling plans of my dad's that aren't my dad's plans. It's something, it's a little bit right, but it's not right.
Right.
All right.
That's good to know. Very good for everyone out there, because we are going to post this on YouTube also, so everyone's gonna know about your conference. And
Romero, he disappeared. He disappeared after he published his findings.
There you go.
And maybe if you look here, and can I share a video here? No. Yes. No.
Who did you say disappeared? Who's this?
The guy that did this?
The Romero UK guy. So this guy named Romero
UK.
Romero UK. He disappeared. Let's see. Let me see if I can.
Brendan, if if you stop sharing, then Carmen will probably be able to share whatever it is that she's trying to share.
I don't know how to do that.
It's the green button. It's the green button. I don't know if you can do it if you're on your iPhone. I'm not sure how easy it is to do on your iPhone, but it's the green button. It's the share button at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Tap to speak. Eddie. Okay. Oh, there we go. Here, buttons. Record, notes, whiteboard, captions, app.
There should be like a share. Yeah, do the share.
Okay, I got you. 1 second. Let me go see if I can find.
It's so relevant that we were doing the Meg and the Cyril machine as we talk about your father's device here too. This is destined to happen this way, obviously, right?
Yeah, for sure. There we go. Wait a second. So can I just tap a bunch and then select?
I think you just tap the green button, tap share screen. At the bottom, when you
I'm just going to add a bunch of pictures
here
for you.
Oh, there you go.
It's working now.
It's working. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there it is.
What have you got there?
So this is us working on my dad's prototype. That was
there it
his
is. That's the machine that we started up.
Died.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's a video that Eric's pointing at.
Oh, cool. Yep. Of it operating.
Yeah, that's a different one actually. That even might be his induction motor.
Okay.
We're copying all the old VHS and stuff to DVDs. We're
Yep.
converting them from VHS to DVD here.
Awesome.
And, you know, I have about another 8 boxes that need to be converted from VHS to DVD before
Wow.
it gets lost.
That's amazing
and
that you're
then I'm
doing
gonna-
that.
Let me see where else. So do
So
I have
those
to
are-
stop share to add something else? Do I have to stop sharing to add something else?
You can, I think, I'll show you. How do we stop? There should be a sort of like in a escape button or something.
Oh, leave, right, okay. Oh, no. Cancel.
No, not
I don't want to
leave.
leave them
It's
in
there. Yeah, there should be like a stop sharing button if that's what you were trying to do.
Well, I want to
Like it's
share
usually
a video or
escape
others.
button or something. Something like
Carmen, why don't we do this? Why don't we get everything lined up for next time and we can do a bit more
Sounds
of a
good.
presentation?
I think that's a good idea. Ed
Yeah,
and I
Yes.
will work out the kinks and then we'll give you some real juicy stuff.
yeah,
That would be so cool. That'd be
Yeah.
so cool.
Awesome.
definitely.
Okay, well, let's since now I'm completely locked, I don't even know how to get you guys back now. I got my pictures and
we just stop
You-
recording. Amber, just stop recording so you get that sorted.
Yeah, sure.
And you can send
Yeah.
me
I
the
can do
link
that.
on the Google share link.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this
And
is
I'll
all
put it up
being
on
put up
oh,
on.
there we go. I had to
I'll
hit
put it
stop
up on
share.
YouTube.